But you know, the whole thing about this idea is we just closed schools to, quote, right size, as the district put it. And I always have had the idea that Pilgrim Lane was, you know, the Pilgrim Lane, I hate to reopen the referendum wounds.
Open that scab.
Yeah, which some people at this table were involved in. But, you know, the Plymouth area where Pilgrim Lane is really was the area that carried the referendum. They were largely the people who financed the Yes
indeed.
281, which is their right. I mean, I'm not, they have their opinion.
They want it.
But a month later, after the referendum passed, their school got closed. And I think there has been this desire, they don't want the land to just crumble, and you know, the district kind of doesn't know what they want to do with it. And I've had a feeling the whole time that their intent long-term was to reopen it. And people ought to know that that building is in rough shape. It probably needs, I'm throwing this.
According to what, the numbers that you shared with me?
Well, yeah, about $15 million of work.
Well, let's have a referendum.
Yeah. Are you ready to pay for that?
No, no, I'm not.
All for a school that we don't need.
Well, maybe they're trying to bury the name Pilgrim, too, because that's got religious connotations.
Oh, gee.
Pilgrim's actually...
They'd have to rename the street.
Pilgrim
There you
read
go.
this thing.
Yeah. But it is kind of a thorny issue, because the city of Plymouth, to develop that land, would have to rezone that land into residential. And right now, the reality is, with the real estate market, no private developer is going to come in there and tear that down and spend $20 million on it. So it's either going to be a school, an empty building. I mean, there is
a roller rink.
Yeah, there is a park right next there. You can go down the slide or something. But so it's an interesting thing, but it's something that we really need to follow and stay on top of, because it all came from their Committee on Revenue Enhancement, or as I call it, Committee to get more tax dollars.
Right, right.
And so that was one of their recommendations. They took 8 months to come up with this as a recommendation.
Let's form a committee.
The
Form a committee to find out how we can get more money, and when we get more money, we'll form another committee.
But, you know, it is...
This is my tax dollars at work, right?
This is definitely your tax dollars at work. And the district, you know, to do this is going to have to, for lack of a better term, sell it. I mean, they're going to have to sell it to a divided, skeptical public.
You know how they do that, though? They hire a public relations firm, usually at 50 or 60K, to come in with a theme, maybe a theme song. Maybe we could have...
Or what was it? Be a Hero?
Yes.
Was that the last one?
Yes, exactly.
Springstead Incorporated, I believe, was the committee, or the
public relations firm.
Yes, that they paid with our money.
And Springstead Incorporated does this. That's what they do for a living.
Yes.
Is they go and create these campaigns for school districts.
It's no different than hiring somebody to run a campaign for anything else, except they are exclusively,
and it's our money,
paying for it with our money.
So we're giving them money so that they can petition
us to get more
money.
And it's critical.
How do I get that thing?
I don't know. I don't think they'd hire you.
No,
I just have a feeling.
I have a feeling.
I would hire you.
Yeah, well, there you
I
go.
would.
Okay.
No question about it.
I'm for sale.
But you know, it's the quickest they could do this is the fall of 2012, and that is a critical time in. If you look at our budget proposals, we have gotten some, I would call it bailout money, the past 2 years.
Where did that come from?
China.
Yeah.
And but that money is a one-time only thing that is, if I am understanding it right, at the end of the 2012 school year, is no longer there.
And what are they going to do with this money?
Well, what they've done,
okay.
let me regain myself here.
Okay.
What they've,
well, you didn't nausea pill before you
they got, part of this federal jobs bill was a $10 billion measure. And I know we've been trillioned and billioned out the past couple of years. But what they did was that was earmarked, and this is the way a lot of federal money works, which is, of course, still our money, but a lot of the way it works is it was earmarked largely for people. Largely for people. And Personnel.
Right.
But again, we rehire these people, and at the end of 2012,
who's going to pay for them?
Exactly.
I mean, what happens? And same thing.
It was like
We can't lay them off.
No.
Of course not. And
Well, we can.
Well, we
We're getting into the theoretical.
We
stuff
could,
again.
theoretically.
In the real world, you can lay
Yeah,
them
and the stimulus bill, which was earmarked largely for Title I and special ed, which is largely what the federal money goes toward. We hired instructional coaches and intervention specialists.
Really? Intervening in...
Yeah, which sounds like a drug rehabilitation
does,
center.
it does.
Oh, yes, okay.
As a parent, am I an intervention specialist?
You could,
And
I
how
suppose.
much can I get paid?
You are not licensed to be that. That's right.
And I also don't have a union card.
That's,
right.
you got to have that. And there's one more thing. They got a grant, this is a 5-year grant for smaller learning communities. And it's basically a college readiness program for the AP and that kind of things at Cooper and Armstrong.
Right.
But again, these things have sunset provisions. And what we'll do, we took this money.
Explain sunset provision for someone who may
Yeah,
not know.
well, okay, a sunset provision is when you get money for a certain period of time, but you know it's
That
going
means
to
it can
end.
end.
It has a sunset, like what just happened with the Bush tax cuts, that there was a date certain in which it would revert
Expire.
back to the old one. So, you know, they know that this money is not going to be there, yet they're considering and what they'll do is they'll say, well, federal money is now being cut.
Right.
Wait for that terminology to start too. That, well, they were paying for this and now they're not, and it'll be somehow to either dump the cost on us or on the state.
And somehow I get the impression that when that cut comes through, people who don't want to renew those personnel will be called, fill in the blank, mean-spirited.
Child haters.
Child
Child
haters. I like
haters.
child
There you go.
haters,
There you
yes.
go.
So, yeah, so that's just something on the horizon, and
You had mentioned, Andrew, in show prep that there was there's an increase in some of the benefits and the salaries that are going towards 281 teachers.
Yes, and
I think that's worth sharing.
Yeah, almost all district employees, because what happens is once the Robbinsdale Federation of Teachers reaches an agreement,
Our good friends at the Robbinsdale Federation.
And
I
that,
don't want my leg broken.
Right, and that has a deadline to it, and we get into what we want to do in the legislature in a minute. That they have to agree with them by January 15th of an even year, or else the district gets fined, but the union does not. So the union can leverage that deadline date to get...
A union would never
they would
themselves against...
What am I saying? I'm just, again, the theoretical
Wash
stuff.
your mouth out, Andrew.
But anyhow, one of the things that they negotiated in the last round, which was because they do it every 2 years, just like the biennium of the state, was that they negotiated every employee in District 281 gets another $50 paid for on their health insurance premium the district is picking up, and next year it's another $50. So their health care costs are going up, but what the employees are paying in is going down. And it's resulted
Isn't that happening everywhere?
No, that didn't happen in my job.
How does that compare with private industry?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think
That's happening everywhere, isn't it?
I thought we just solved health care at the federal level. Didn't we just spend $1.3 trillion of money we don't have?
I believe I saw on WCCO that we solved it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's in the last 4 years, it's resulted in a 17% increase in employee benefits. And remember that they get things like defined pensions that nobody gets in the private world.
8% per annum increase in
they
pensions.
There's a health care carryover until Medicare, I believe. I think that applies to, I know our former superintendent got about a $240,000 severance package.
And which southern state is he living in now?
I think he tried to apply to, he was retired, and then, I would do that. I'd move to Florida or
if
Texas.
If someone was going to pay me 90% of $160,000 for the rest of my life, along with,
Yeah, to go away.
To go away?
I'd be
I'd go
gone
away.
so fast my shorts would have to take another car.
You know, as long as you're talking about benefits, I just heard just yesterday, Kim Crockett from the Minnesota Free Enterprise Institute was describing the shortfall in the pension funds for public employees to the tune of $25 billion in unfunded liabilities.
Is that just in Minnesota?
That's just in Minnesota.
Yeah.
$5,000 per man, woman, and child living in Minnesota,
wonder what
just
it-
to
what-
put the right amount of funds into the public
Wonder what it
employees'
is in
pension.
California.
California.
It's too big
It's
to
a
count.
separate country.
Well, no,
It's just,
California's a separate country, but California is a good canary in the mine for us.
yes, we are a cold weather California,
Yeah,
if you want to make it.
Whether California.
Well, I just saw Chris Christie getting interviewed, the governor of New Jersey, the other day. Their pension liability is $55 billion.
Yep.
And all he's tried to do to start is freeze it.
Yep.
They haven't cut one nickel in New Jersey. He's
Right,
just stopped the bleeding.